know why I decided to read these books. Hello everybody and welcome to another reading vlog. Today I am starting Fool's Errand. I had to pause a second to think of the name of the book. Fool's Errand, the first book in the Tawny Man trilogy. And the reason that I wanted to vlog this is because when I finished Ship of Destiny, which was not too long ago, just last week, I wanted to talk about it and I wanted to discuss it and have a spoiler-filled discussion. And I did. And because it was so long, I felt like I focused so much on the final 450 pages and not as much on the first 450 pages. And so I missed out on a lot of the discussion that I was interested in having, and a lot of the character development and that kind of stuff. So I thought that it would be good to come and do this as a reading vlog and discuss it in that way. And it will, I'm sure of the like 10 friends who are going to watch this, it's going to feel like we're reading it together, which is what I want these reading vlogs to feel like. I am both very excited to jump into this immediately and really nervous because everybody talks about Tawny Man as though it has done lifelong damage to them. So it has harmed them in a way that will never be able to be cured. And there's only one thing that I can think of that would hurt me in that way, knowing that there are lots more Fitz books to go. And that is something happening to Night Eyes. And a lot of time has passed since the Farseer trilogy, I believe. So Night Eyes is probably an elderly wolf at this time. And I have to smile right now because just even thinking about it, I also will not be able to cope. So I'm very scared that that might be the devastating something that is happening. I'm in denial, not going to happen. And I'm excited to get to this book. So I will check in along the way at erratic times and let you know how it is going. Okay, I am a couple chapters in. I'm at the beginning of chapter 4. And I have a few things to discuss. So obviously, just the opening line of the novel is lovely. And I'm sure something that is going to come back to haunt me at some point in time. But just, he came one wet, late spring and brought the wide world back to my doorstep. What a perfect opening line. I already know that Robin Hobb is going to rip me apart. And there's just such a sense of portent in that sentence. The life coming back to Fitz. And I had forgotten, I probably shouldn't have forgotten, but after reading a couple of chapters of this, I had forgotten how sad it is to be in Fitz's head. Just so many, all of the things that have happened to him, the people that he has loved and can't fully accept that they have loved him back, because I think that there's a fair amount of self-hatred going on in there. And it is a heavy time to be so intricately linked with Fitz. And I think that's going to be, it's going to be hard throughout this book. I'm glad to be back with Fitz. I love Fitz. I am super happy to be back in his head, but it is a very different experience from the intensity, the sort of intensity that Live Ship Traders brought, because that was this massive multi-POV fantasy story where you get to know all of the characters very well and the characterization is excellent and you see people from other points of view. But with these single viewpoint narratives, this first person narrative, you get to know Fitz so well. And he is, I think, quite the unreliable narrator, which you can see from when he has conversations with other people. I'm just scrolling through my Kindle to try to find the other part I wanted to talk about here, but it is interesting, and I'm glad to be back with Fitz. But it is hard. It's a heavy place to be in Fitz's head. One part that I wanted to talk about was the confrontation. I'm just like looking through my pages here. I found it. The confrontation that Fitz and Starling had when he finally found out from Hap that she had been married for, some undetermined amount of time. And for Fitz, that is just it. Like, that's the ending. He could kind of close off any question about her having other lovers on the road and being happy when she came back to him, but knowing that she has promised herself to somebody else, and then being the man that is getting in the middle of that is not something that he is interested in. And this is a very random part to comment on. Like, this is not a huge event or anything, but if I'm going to sit down and vlog this, then I'm going to talk about the things that I like about Robin Hobb's writing. That is one thing that is going to happen. And what I really liked was when they're having this argument and Starling is talking about being married and how it doesn't matter and she gets to make her own choices, and she's very persuasive in that minstrel bard kind of way. Fitz says, well, you know, what was my role in your life? Like, how was it that I made you feel? And she says, comfortable, accepted, and valued, which are good. You know, that's nice answers. Generous, giving you what no one else would. Worldly and adventurous, like a bright songbird come to visit a wren. And I think that this is how Robin Hobb can create such rich characters who feel so dimensional, who feel so real, because Starling says things that are true. She has great talent and lots of positive points, but then you get those little pieces of a personality that are the parts of ourselves that are hard to admit to and hard to admit that we have them. And I think that's what makes it difficult for some authors to put those things on page, because writing is so personal. Even if you're not writing about yourself, even if your characters are nothing like you, you draw up on your own emotional experience. And if you can't be honest about what people are capable of in small ways, in petty ways, in bitter ways, in rude ways, then it's hard to create a fully realized character. And that line where she says, you know, you made me feel good about myself. I was giving you a gift. I felt charitable, when I was coming here to spend time with you, which must be really hard for Fitz to hear, even if there is, an element of truth to that. But I think those little moments are the parts that make Robin Hobb's characterization shine, those small pieces of a person that aren't that flattering in either direction. And, I thought that was worth chatting about. Stay tuned for more amazing revelations of that type. Okay, doing a very early reading check-in before the rest of my family wakes up. I just finished chapter 5, The Tawny Man, which obviously is a very weighty, momentous chapter. And I just have to say that Robin Hobb's writing can make very small moments carry so much weight. And the only other author that I've read that I can think of off the top of my head who also does this very effectively is Guy Gabriel Kay. There's a scene in one of Guy Gabriel Kay's books where an emperor enters a room and you can feel the weight of that action and how important it is and what an effect it has on the other characters. And I think that it is something that is very difficult to pull off. I think there are a lot of people who can make big moments feel important and exciting moments feel important, but making very small moments feel momentous is a skill, and Robin Hobb definitely possesses it. I don't think it's just because of my attachment to the Fool that I can feel the shift in this chapter, and I can feel that things are going to change for Fitz. And I will say that reading this chapter is also the first time that I have been really frustrated with myself that I waited so long between Farseer and the Tawny Man trilogy, because especially after knowing the hints that were given in Ship of Destiny or throughout Live Ship Traders about Amber being the Fool, I now am convinced that there are small hints that I missed throughout the Farseer trilogy that are going to tell me about the Fool and things about their backstory, why they feel the way they do about Fitz, what is going to happen with Fitz, all of those things. So I really wish that I'd read these closer together, which is no one's fault but my own. But I am very happy to see the Fool. I almost cried when the Fool came back. I'm sure I'll cry and almost cry many more times throughout this novel. Okay, back for another early morning check-in. I'm actually pretty far into the book now. I'm at about the 75-80% mark. I didn't want to stop. I was reading late last night, and I just was too into it to turn on the light and start talking and stuff. So I'm going to cover a little bit of ground here. But the first part that I flagged was back at page 330, so the 50% mark of the book. And something that's become increasingly clear to me, or at least has been something that I'm questioning increasingly, is the nature of the Fool's regard for Fitz. And it feels like a love story. I don't know if it's supposed to feel like that or if it's just that I am primed to see things that way, because I do like fantasy with an undercurrent of romance, and I like a doomed romance. I like a romance that is going to be difficult for it to come out, and one that's understated. And I think that Robin Hobb is the queen of understatement. She conveys so much in few words and without the kind of excessive language or kind of, really pushing something in your face that happens a lot in traditional romance, which sometimes I'm in the mood for. But what I really love is when things are like this. There was a part at page 330 that I really liked, and it was when the Fool was dressing Fitz. So Fitz had just opened his clothing that the Fool had purchased for him, and Fitz hadn't had a chance to look at it. And he's dressed in this outfit that's much nicer than anything else that he's worn. And we have to remember that this is on the heels of Fitz having been told by Starling that he was old and ugly and lucky that anyone like her would ever sleep with him. So his self-confidence is not at an all-time high. And the Fool says, "This Fitz, this is how I've always seen you and how you have never seen yourself." And it's so good. Robin Hobb is so good because you get so much about the Fool. You get so much about Fitz's character. You understand immediately all of the layers to this relationship, the trust, the care, and whatever it may be, romantic, platonic, whatever it is on either side. You get so much about each person from that small snippet of text. And I think this is what I really love about Robin Hobb, is that she can say these very impactful things in a concise and elegant and beautiful way. So I am prepared to be heartbroken by this. And we already know that Fitz's fate and the Fool's fate are intertwined. They're the White Prophet and the Catalyst, and they're, they need each other, they use each other, they are there for each other. But I'm also seeing some little romantic undercurrents. I don't know if it's just me, but that's okay. I can continue on in this vein. Plot-wise, there's a lot happening. I do really like that this book is based on The Wit, which I've probably said before. But at the part that I'm at right now, so the part that I just read is where they just rescued Dutiful. So they just encountered everybody on horseback. Fitz grabbed the prince's reins, dragged the prince away. So there's this question about this toxic bond that the prince has with his cat, and the cat potentially being bonded with somebody else. The way that this group of old blood seems to be trying to possess the prince, or what they're doing to him. So I'm interested to see how that's going to happen. And I will say that throughout the time that they were traveling to find the prince, the huntswoman, I did have some suspicions, and I do still suspect more of her, Kettrican's huntswoman. I don't know. She's obviously not telling the truth about things. She obviously took off with the prisoner. Now, Fitz was being very scary, and it is reasonable to assume that he was close to murdering the prisoner that they captured. But I feel like there's probably something more. So I'm interested to see where the two of them went and where she fits into this whole old blood mystery that is going on. But I had to stop and do a quick check-in because I cannot stop reading this book. I need to keep going. So I am, like I said, this is an early morning one. I'm going to get in a bunch before I have to go to work, and I am looking forward to seeing what happens. I just I just finished chapter 22, and I feel like every worst fear that I ever had is coming true. And the part where Night Eyes told Fitz to tell Nettle tales of him is gonna kill me. Like, I am holding out some delusional hope that Fitz is gonna be able to go back through the stones and get them both, because I knew it. I knew when people said that this book was sad and ripped their heart out, that something was going to happen to Night Eyes, and I can't handle that. And I definitely can't handle something happening to him and the Fool at the same time. So something better happen. Chapter 26 being called Sacrifice, while also beginning with a description of what it means to be sacrificed as a leader in the mountain people, has got me really on edge. I don't even know what to say. I'm just scared about what's gonna happen. Well, I knew that it was coming, and it doesn't make it any easier. And I'm glad that it didn't happen
that he wasn't killed without Fitz being there. But the scene where they're dreaming and he says that he's gonna go hunt and you just know what's happening. It's so sad. I don't know. I'm just really, really sad. And that's it. Just, okay. I think maybe most of the tears are gone. Maybe not. Maybe they're gonna go forever. But I just wanted to, the part where they're talking and he says, oh, my eyes hurt so much now. Wait for you, not likely. I've always had to run ahead of you and show you the way. I just, oh God. I don't know why I decided to read these books. All right, I gave myself some legitimate time to mourn and relax and then continue on with the reading. So I just finished, let me see, I'll open up my Kindle. I just finished chapter 27, so I'm just about to start chapter 28. And it's interesting to see Fitz and Dutiful both mourning at the same time. They've gone through similar things. I just read the scene where Dutiful asks Fitz if he hates him, and Fitz says no, and Fitz explains what happened with the cat, and Dutiful says that he forgives him. And I thought that was a really important part. And it's interesting to see Fitz seeing himself in this child, even though their circumstances are very different, and how the isolation of being a royal is equal to the isolation that he felt being a secret scion of the Farseer line. So it comes about in a different way, but I think these are the fledgling roots of real understanding and care coming between Dutiful and Fitz. And it's going to be interesting to see when and if. I feel like there is going to be a when Dutiful finds out that Fitz is actually his father, although maybe it's not, maybe it's just an if. But I did like those threads, and I think that maybe at the least Fitz is going to be what Burrich was for him, but hopefully he can take the things that have happened and, you know, change some of the methods and the way that his childhood was, and maybe make it a little bit easier or better. But these Farseer men, they just they are trapped by circumstances, and I don't know if there is any getting better. When Starling said to Fitz a couple of chapters back, yours is the saddest song I've ever had to sing, man, true. I just, what's going to happen to him next? Who knows? But I'm sure it's going to be sad and painful. So I only have 2 chapters left, the concluding chapters of this book. And we'll see, because Robin Hobb, in a lot of her books, at the very last moment has been like, here's a knife that you're going to have to wrench from your gut or your chest before you go on to the next book. So I feel like I've already been not just knifed, but decapitated by a broadsword. Like, that is the depth of the hurt that she has already dealt me in this book. So I can't imagine that anything that comes in the next 2 chapters is going to approach that. But you know what? She seems to always find a way. So we'll see how the next 2 chapters go and how quickly I feel like I'm going to have to pick up the next book. I have finished Fool's Errand. It has wrung so many emotions out of me. And luckily, Robin Hobb did not stick me with another knife at the very end. It was a very beautiful ending to the book, actually. I thought that the last couple pages were very well done. And obviously, it leaves you wondering where things are going to go next, and, you know, an expectation for how Fitz's life is going to change once more after all this has happened. But I am appreciative of the somewhat gentle dismount at the end of the book. I am torn between wanting to download Golden Fool and start it immediately and giving myself a little bit of time to process. And I think that's probably the better option, is that I need some time, because this is a big, heavy, emotional book. There's a lot happening. I think I need to let it all settle before I go on to the next story. I think as I have been vlogging this, number one, I didn't stop very often because I was so enthralled and so into the book that I couldn't make myself stop and talk. But also, it was a very emotional book, I think. It was plotty. I mean, the conspiracy with the mounting discontent of the piebalds, the quest that Fitz and the Fool have to go on. There were a lot of really interesting moments, but as most or all of the Fitz books have been so far, it's very introspective. We sit with Fitz, we travel with Fitz, we know what Fitz is thinking, we know how Fitz is feeling. And I think that that means that emotions are running high when you finish a book like this, if you really love it, which I do. And interestingly enough, I finished Ship of Destiny last month, not very long ago, and I thought it's going to be difficult for a book to top that because it is the coming together of an entire trilogy. It is the resolution of so many plot threads, and I really enjoyed the way that it all happened. And still, this is better. It's Fitz. I love Fitz. I hurt for Fitz. I feel for Fitz. I love Fitz, and reading about his life is unparalleled. I am terrified for how it's going to go from here. I'm worried about what's going to happen. I'm intrigued. I'm interested. But at the end of the day, even though I think that Live Ship Traders is a masterfully done trilogy, for me personally, there's nothing that reaches the same high as getting to follow in Fitz's footsteps again. So I am happy that I am back here, and I am going to give myself a little bit of space. Like I said, I need to take a tiny break. I don't know how long that's going to last, but I need to take a tiny break before I go on and finish, or before I go on and start Golden Fool. But this absolutely gets a 5 out of 5 stars for me. It hurt me as much, I'm going to say, as any other book has ever hurt me. And you kind of know it from the beginning, and you know that it's going to have to happen. And they say throughout the whole book, this is the downside of the wit magic, is that you're bonded to a creature whose lifespan is significantly shorter than yours. And we had many hints of this potentially happening throughout the book. And I still, even though I was fairly certain it was going to happen, it was not any easier to make it through. So I had to give myself a little bit of time to grieve along with Fitz. And then I don't know if it'll be next month. I don't know if it'll be next week. I don't know if it'll be in a couple of days, but whenever I am ready to read Golden Fool, I will hopefully vlog it again. I don't know how successful this one was, but it is nice to share some feelings. And I know that people who love things also love to see other people suffer through those things. So hopefully that can bring you at least a little feeling of solidarity, some extra catharsis watching me go through the misery that happened in this book. So I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you with another vlog soon. Bye.